Hello and welcome to Indie Book Magic, a podcast that connects geek readers and writers in an open, lighthearted, and occasionally random environment. We're your friendly hosts, Janeen Ippolito and
H.L. Burke.
And today we are talking about our favorite laugh-out-loud reads, books that incorporate humor in clever and original ways in an epic Booksplosion!
Yay! I didn't sound very enthusiastic there.
Awesome sound effects. There was much rejoicing. The porg is happy.
Yay!
So without further ado, we're going to dig into all these awesome authors. So go ahead and take it away, Heidi.
Okay, well, our first category, because we did try to get some organization here in spite of my best efforts, is unexpected things in humor. And my first one I want to talk about is a book that I think was my favorite book I read in 2015. It's on one of my top 10 lists. And it's called The Wrong Enemy by Jane Labach. And it's a story about guardian angels, which could be really grim and, humorless, I think, because a lot of people seem to take them very seriously. But the angels in their off time like to do things like play board games. They've got like this, I don't remember the name of the game in the book, but it's some sort of Settlers of Catan with like action packs and like expansion packs. And it's like one of those games that you start playing and you end up playing for 2 days. Oh and the angels are really into it, except for this one new angel who's not really so sure. And I just like that because it gave them some humanity, because there's not so much you can do with angels, because how bad can an angel be? Mm-hmm. But the little quirkiness of them made them feel like a lot more real people, and it really brought the book to life, I think. And I love it when there's something that you don't expect in a book.
Yeah, and you're bringing up a good point there, Heidi, with the idea that humor can humanize characters as well. It takes these things that we see as being very high above, and it can humanize them without having to go into really dark, sordid places. Because I'm sure, as soon as you said that, what can you do with angels? How bad can they be? I thought, oh, there's plenty of genres where they can be quite bad. But the thing is, if you want to humanize them without going to those places, humor is a great way to do it.
Yeah. I guess I'm coming at that from a more theologically sound point, because if you make a bad angel, you've essentially got a demon, unless you write urban fantasy, and then all bets are off.
Yeah, and they just pretty much are using the words for their own different meanings, etc.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then I've got one for us, Red Dragon Girl by Leah Dewey. It has a goose, and this goose is caring for dragons.
The goose is my favorite. The goose is my one true love.
Yeah, so there's just something awesome with this goose that, as soon as I say that, a goose caring for dragons, I'm sure you probably started smiling, because it reminds us of, in real life where you have like, the dog caring for kittens, or, the chicken caring for puppies, or something weird like that. And it just makes you smile. It's so unexpected. It's so different. You're just like, aww.
It is really cute too. I love a cute pairing. And animals, I don't know, there's just something about you can put an animal into a scene and suddenly it's funny on its own. But if you make that kind of an unexpected thing, like a goose doesn't seem very tough, but a goose protecting those dragons like a ferocious mother hen. She's a hen goose.
I was going to say, you and I know different geese then, because I know some geese that are mean. One time when I was like 9 years old and I had a bag of bread, of course now I know you're not supposed to feed them bread, but I was 9. And I had this like armada of geese just as soon as I saw the bread, just storming the gates at me.
I've interacted with ducks. I've interacted with chickens. I've told my chicken horror stories. But and a swan in Japan.
Oh,
this one was getting everything it wanted from the koi, that we were feeding the koi, and the swan was just coming over and taking what it wanted.
Oh, so it wasn't like fighting. It was like a mating swan that was like, I have eggs here and I will kill you because
he was a chill swan.
Well, what's another book you got for us, Heidi?
Well, talking about unexpected contrast, I recently read The Hidden Level by AJ, I believe it's Bakke, Bakke, if you want to Google. And that one is exploring a world that's connected to our world via a link through a computer game. And the character gets transported there, and he's actually on his computer with his normal interface. And he's trying to go around this game, trying to figure out, this is the weirdest game. It's not working. Like, there's no quest. There's nothing to attack. So what's he do? What do you do in a video game when there's nothing when you want to figure out what happens, you break a pot. That's gamer. I don't know if that's a gamer thing. So he just starts going around the village breaking pots, and the villagers are like, "Why is this crazy guy going around our village breaking pots?" And they're all like throwing tomatoes at him to try to get him to stop breaking pots. And,
yeah, I did not know this gaming tradition, but oh wow, okay.
I think it's from Zelda. I think that's the original because you break pots, you get rupees.
I do remember that in Zelda. Yeah, I've watched a lot of Zelda and I've seen that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just the idea of taking that gaming trope and putting it into the real world. And it's expected in gaming, but it's not expected in the real world, even though it makes total sense to the person who's playing it and thinks he's in a game. Mm-hmm. I got a pretty good laugh out of that.
And another way that you can do unexpected is, by having someone do something that, looking at them stereotypically, you don't think they'd be capable of doing. And I am a fan of sassy, badass old ladies. I think they're awesome. And in C.S. Johnson's Kingdom of Ash and Soot, which is coming out this summer, we have this great, historical alternate history a bit. We've got a love triangle, we got action, we got danger, we got assassins. And this is spoilers for y'all, just in case you didn't realize, but one of the head of this Order of the Crystal Daggers, this ancient Order of Assassins, is this very proper but very knife-edged old lady. And it's fantastic. The trope has been done. The idea of a badass old lady who is more than she seems has been done, but it's done really well here. And it's not a matter of, oh, well, you thought she was prim and she's not. No, she's both. And that's the really fun thing too, is she just switches back and forth between like grilling the main character who's supposed to be like her protege, grilling her on the details of etiquette and the details of exactly how you hold your fan with the same ferocity that she has her do like this training. And so the contrast of that and how seriously she takes it adds a nice ironic humor to the whole thing. It's not expected. It's taken to a much further extent that I've seen other books where they usually just kind of play it for a gag and then, oh no, well, she's really just tough all the time. Or, oh no, she's really just tough in this instance. Like, no, she's both all the time. And, you will listen to her even if you're talking about flirting or if you were talking about killing someone.
You can be both, yes.
She very much is. And again, you don't see that kind of growth in older characters as much as you do in younger characters. So that was really fun. And the next one we have up here is talking about characters and connections, playful couples.
Yeah, and I love this. It can happen both with friendship, it can happen with parents, it can happen with siblings, and it can happen with romantic entanglements. So I like a lot of mix. So I don't want to just focus on romantic, even though I think for me, it's the most fun in romance because you also get the fact that they can kiss at the end. But I'm going to do my first one as a friendship, and that's between Flicker and Leah. Flicker the dragonette and Leah the girl who in the novel Dragon Friend by Mark Secchia. And they are constantly making fun of each other and having like names for each other. He calls her Strawhead. They constantly bicker at each other. And it's so much fun that they're just playing all the time. And yet they work really to go out together. They're very protective of each other and they would do anything for each other. And I love that sense that you can still kind of like, it's so much more fun to make fun of your friends than your enemies. I don't know about you.
I totally feel you here, Heidi. I totally feel you here. That is that is true love when you can snark with someone.
Yeah, it's like that. There's that awkward place at the beginning of a friendship where you don't know where their sensitivities are, but once you've figured them out and you know where their armor is, you can kind of poke at their armor instead of their. You need to know both their soft spots and their armor and how deep each goes.
Yes, very much so. And I got a romantic one for us here, and this is from Helena by Sarah Delana White. And this is Zad and Diza. And Zad and Diza are really interesting in this book because they actually kind of function together as a couple sidekicks. They each work as sidekicks and tricksters for the two main characters who are they're wonderful characters, but they're rather more serious. So having two sidekicks makes sense. But they're also, very madly, passionately in love with each other, but they also like snark each other all the time and, tease each other. And, it's really fun because you see like, oh, the guy checking out the girl as being, there's the immature guy checking out the girl. No, this guy's like married to her and still like checking her out and making snarky comments and all those things. And it's really fun to see that in a married couple.
I think they like break a couch or something too, don't they? Or did
that was, I think I was involved in the editing. That was left up to interpretation.
Okay. So I know how I interpreted that. I don't know what everyone else.
They had a long night, patrolling the city for dangerous things and killing bad guys. And so, they wanted a break.
You need to blow off steam. Break a couch.
So again, that, the playfulness, the fun, the banter, and the idea that, it can happen past the wedding day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like doing that with my couples. It shows that they're kind of a team, especially if they have something to gang up on. I did this with Jericho and Rill, and this is kind of spoilers. In book 2, Jericho and Rill are a couple, like a married couple, and Auric is her brother and his best friend, and Auric does not like to see that they are intimate. Like, it's like,
oh, my sister! Oh,
could you stop looking at my sister? Like, don't talk to my sister that way. Don't touch my sister. And they get on it, and they figure out that he's got this weakness, and they're like openly flirting, like seeing how far they can push it in front of Auric before he goes and leaves the room. And I just love it because they know each other so well at this point. They've had a long friendship before they became romantic, and they just know each other's cues, and they're like finishing each other's sentences and setting each other up for jokes and stuff. I like doing that because I think if you don't have a character character relationship that's at least a little bit playful, I think it burns out from all the seriousness. I mean,
no, it really can, because as you get to know each other and everything, again, it adds humanity. There's a certain level of intimacy and fondness that comes out that you're comfortable with teasing each other.
Yeah. And I think with my own marriage, it was like, Matt has a really hard time being serious. So for him, teasing is kind of a love language. It's nice when he does break down and finally tell me how he feels, but in the meantime, I'll take the fact that he's making bad jokes while I'm cooking or something.
Yeah. Steve and I, that's definitely one of our big love languages, is seeing how clever we can be back and forth. And occasionally we've gone out to dinner parties or things like that, or gone out to people's houses together, and we just go back and forth. Like, wait, the other people haven't been talking, but they've been laughing, which is good.
Yeah. Well, and then
like, are we the sideshow here that we're just kind of doing?
Yeah, and then it's also with the guy relationships. Like in the same series, Auric and Jericho, they platonically love each other a lot. They're basically brothers by the end of the series, but they would never say that. But they would like mess with each other a lot, and trying to find that balance of them like snarking at each other, but at the same time showing that they really care and they're not just there to tease each other. I like that, because then when you do break it down and finally one of them does just give a sincere line, it means more, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say also, and I'm going to, again, slightly plug my own book, but I really love this couple. I have a mother-daughter couple where it's like they're friends, but one of them is significantly older, and she kind of helped raise the other one. And I wasn't expecting this when I wrote them in this novella that's coming out, Priceless. But it's Zilpath and Nuala, and they have the best snarky mother-daughter chemistry ever. Like, I didn't see it coming at all, but they just like go back and forth, and it's fun to see that in around females, because usually you see that with guys. Mm-hmm. But it's perfectly natural with their personalities and what they do. And again, it's a fun way to, show intimacy and show closeness, even though neither of them would say they love each other at all, because it's just, they're not the kind of people that do that.
Yeah, and when you have characters who won't say the mushy things, mm-hmm. I think the humor shows that they care more than, it would really if they like tried to say the poetry or whatever. Oh, absolutely. You can have characters that do both. I mean, sometimes you can get that character will have that really good feels moment, but then right before that they're laughing and joking and throwing things at each other. I don't know. As you do.
As you do. And on to the next one. Characters who don't get it, whatever it is. This is kind of the same thing as, fish out of water, where you dump someone in an unfamiliar situation, or you just have someone who's just doesn't get it. They don't get anything. And so I have a couple of good examples for this, one of whom we're going to do a little shout out to each other's stuff, which is okay. The thing is, y'all, Heidi and I worked really hard at being good at humor. This is part of what we do, and we like to say it comes naturally, but we also do actually work hard at it. So plugging our own stuff occasionally is a pretty good thing to do. Heidi has a series called the Spell Smith and Carver series, 3 books, and there's a character called Lotta, and she just doesn't understand like life in terms of social relations. And that is pretty hilarious because she just doesn't know. Like, that's where you get there. She doesn't know that you don't go up to people and say, are we going to have sexual intercourse now? She's a bit socially awkward in that way, and it just doesn't quite click with her. But that's not the way that you would do that in social situations because it's not quote unquote nice. And she doesn't get why, people think it's a little bit funny that she's a couple inches taller than the guy that she loves. And, she just doesn't get things. And that fish out of water thing is really cute to see in the story.
Yeah, and you've got that with Kessia and Lawless because she doesn't understand emotional cues or romantic cues. Like, why is the guy looking at me this way?
Yeah, something wrong with him. Like, why is he getting so close? Is he going to attack me? Because she's been, she was raised in prison, basically. She was raised in prison, believed that she was a felon who had, spoilers, well, not really, but she believed that she was a felon who killed her own parents. And this isn't actually entirely the case, but because she believes that about herself, she has that fish out of water thing where she just doesn't know how to context outside of being in prison. And then she's in a completely new culture that's different from, because she's a dragon. And so she's not sure how to human, and she's not even sure how to dragon with other dragons. There's many layers of she just doesn't know.
So much to know.
Yeah, so much to know.
I think when you have a character like that, you need to give them a reason. Like, Lotta has extreme social anxiety. Kessia has been locked away. If a character is just clueless, unless there's something going on, you kind of need to understand why. Unless, well, I guess this is why, but kids are great. I love kids can provide so much humor just because they don't see the things. It's like, I had this thing with Clara like a couple days ago. She's like points to somebody, Mom, who is that really old person? It's like, to her, it's a fact. You just state that. And I'm like, I had to explain why we don't really call people really old people, Claire.
She's thinking, but they are.
Yeah, exactly. The person is really old. Though, of course, to her, really old is probably 40 or 20. But still. So, yeah, kids are like that. It's that child's perspective that they can flat out say that they think everything's going to be a certain way, and they get it in their heads. There's a short, like, novella that's called Mia and Snouts about a girl who wants the perfect pet. She's got this idea for a pony. That I forget what she calls it, but something like Sparkle something, that she wants the magical pony, and that's the perfect pet. But instead she ends up with a pig dragon named Snouts. And he's not a good pet because he doesn't do the things she in her head has that pets do. And to a parent or a grown-up or even an older kid, it's obvious that pets do not have tea parties with you. That's not what they do. They ruin things like that. They get mud all over things. But to her, she's just in her own head. This is how she has pictured it. And it reminded me so much of Claire, because Claire is this way. Claire will make these lists of her perfect day. And she's like, we will do this, and we will do this, and then this will happen, and then there will be a rainbow. And it doesn't picture in her head that she can't order the weather. And it's like, but yeah, I love that about kids. There's just that freedom of it. And I think a lot of people are afraid to write kid characters. There's some, kids taking over or being cute annoy some readers. But if you can do it right, I think that there's a lot to be earned there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially use them in the right location to bring out the right things in other characters. They can be really helpful and, cute. Yeah. Another one I've got for us is Whispers in the Dark by Pam Jernigan. This, in my head, pretty much ties with Warm Bodies for most adorbs zombie book. And I love her fresh take on zombies. And the thing is, because in her world, zombies are like, they're kind of like these emotional vampires. They don't have emotions. And so what they do is they feed off intense emotions from the people. And so, people get intense emotions when they're, scared and dying. So therefore we must keep killing people because they're not really thinking in terms of like social cues again. Mm-hmm. And so as the one character, as he starts getting emotions, and of course, it's a zombie romance. It's cute. They're not brain eaters. They just kill people because they need their intense emotions to feel good. That's not too much better, but still, it's it's a different take, but he's kind of cute because he doesn't know what he's feeling or how he's feeling or why he's feeling. So he has his ongoing things that's like, for some reason, I kind of care. And oh, this is sad and she is sad. And the narrative is very, it comes off as very cute and sincere and sort of innocent. And it makes it really adorable in this kind of very harsh post-apocalyptic world to have this character who is feeling these emotions for the first time in a very long time, doesn't really remember like his past or anything, and is trying to do these very earnest, sincere things out of this new emotion he's feeling, but he's not sure how to do that. And so you end up in these very odd and interesting scenarios and asking these kind of the cute adorbs questions. Again, fish out of water stuff, but within the context of feeling something for the first time and not having any social cues that say, well, when you feel this for the first time, you should do this thing. So you just pretty much go with it.
Yeah. Well, I think another fun one is characters who get swept away with something. Maybe they start a common one is they tell a little lie and it gets blown out of proportion, or they pick up something thinking it's going to be an easy little thing and then it blows up in their face.
Famous last word. It'll be easy.
Oh yeah, it's just a quick thing. Oh, that doesn't matter. But there's one thing that I liked. Richard Roberts has a series called "Don't Tell My Parents," or that's the idea of that. Don't tell my parents. Just don't tell my parents I'm a supervillain. Don't tell my parents I blew up the moon. Things like that. And the story is this girl who is I want to say she's 13 or so like a teen, early teen, and her parents are both world famous superheroes. And she wants to get her superpowers too, but they don't seem to be coming in because in that age, it was like a puberty thing, I guess. And she's waiting for her superpowers. And so she starts inventing things, but she invents them and she accidentally becomes a supervillain because her inventions have like unintended consequences. Like she invents this little centipede creature that can eat metal and recycle it into whatever she wants, like gadgets and things.
Mm-hmm.
And it accidentally eats up the school science fair, and a superhero comes to try to stop whatever's eating the science fair. And well, of course you have to fight him. And then the next thing you know, they're all wearing costumes and have bad catchphrases that they just can't seem to stop shouting. It gets out of hand really quick. Yeah. And part of it is that cringe factor of like, you see these kids just upping it every time when you're like, no, back, go down.
There they go again.
Yeah, there they go. So that was fun.
And next up is Odd Couple. And this is the one that we mentioned last week. Contrasts are good. Characters who contrast are even better. Those odd couple situations, or even, someone's reaction contrasting with their environment. So being kind of like themselves and their environment is kind of, the odd couple in the story, that their environment is such a living force that the fact that they're reacting in a way you don't expect is part of the humor. And one of these that I have is the short novella called Ghoul, which is in C.W. Breyer's anthology, Wrath and Ruin. And it's really cute. It's Victorian. It's got lots of Victorian situational irony and snark. And part of that comes from, again, seeing these two characters. First of all, our heroic paranormal detectives here. We have a snarky guy in about his 30s who likes to drink lots of wine and appreciates the finer things in life. And his cohort, who is a 16-year-old orphan girl that he has partnered up with, and she acts in ways that are very unsuitable for a Victorian environment. But the thing is, she is an orphan, so we just can't help her past now, can we? So it makes sense in the context too. You don't feel like, oh, well, she's like this for no reason. You feel like, well, she's a ragamuffin raised in an orphan home. Just the way that they react to things around them, the way that they interact with each other. And the fact that it is, this guy in his 30s and the 16-year-old girl, they're not dating. There's no intention of dating. He has a fiance. It's very much kind of an older brother, younger sister thing, but also a sense that they respect each other's capabilities because she's really good at, sneaking in places and that kind of stuff. It just makes for a lot of that dry British humor. A lot of, snarking at people around them who assume different things about them and assume that, oh, she's his mate or something, all that kind of stuff. And then she pulls out like a revolver or this thing, and that kind of stuff really just makes it fun. It makes it a fun story. And since the story itself, is half horror, half humor, we'll talk about this more next week, but the humor really makes the horror even more horrific, but also kind of makes you want to go along for the ride even more.
Oh yeah, and I think that in those dark things, you need that burst of like light.
Yeah.
Another one that has kind of like a detective slash feel to it is The Beast of Telsin, which we've talked about on the show before by Kyle Robert Schultz. And that one has kind of a very cynical, like snarky character who's very understated and stuff. And then he's paired up this really energetic person who kind of represents everything he doesn't believe in, because he doesn't believe in magic and she's an enchantress. He doesn't believe in fairy tales and he's a cynic. He thinks everything's a trick that's out to get him. And then she turns his life basically into a fairy tale.
Yeah, and the fun thing as well is, he very much believes in like, taking things cautiously and thinking things out, and she doesn't.
No, she just does it.
She just doesn't. And so you get that, fun odd couple thing there.
Why plan when you can do?
Exactly, and then you figure out later if it worked or not.
Yep.
Clearly we're on her side more than his, but he's really funny.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, then you've got yourself a new beast friend.
There you go. And they also include some fun things with him and his younger brother, Kristen, who's also rather fluffy and flirty and extroverted.
He's my favorite. I like him better than I like the leads, honestly. The leads are great, but I like Crispin the best.
You have a thing for fluffies, I have to say.
Well, I guess, I don't know. Why do I? Because I didn't marry one. That's weird.
I was going to say, yeah, because you liked Anthony in My Alien Boyfriend, and he's like super fluffy. Yeah,
and I was slightly more into Chance than I was into Zephyrin.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but then the guys that I like, I write, I'm still into Jericho, and yeah.
Another great example of this is in New Name by A.C. Williams, and it's Aura Morningstar versus the Stormcloud sisters. Aura is kind of this very sweet, very earnest, she's been through a lot at this point in the trilogy. She's been through a lot. But she still has this very sincere, principled core and, wants to do nice things for people and wants to do the right thing. She's getting more of an edge to her, but she's still, very sweet and kind of introverted. And then it's like the Stormcloud sisters, who are these like crazy, over-the-top, boisterous bounty hunters who like, in this particular kind of very lawless society, the first thing one of them does is like goes and propositions her, and she's like, what? And then, they all become friends and everything, and she's on their ship, but they're constantly like, saying these outrageous things or doing these outrageous things. And that contrast between what they do and say and then what she is just, it brings some of the best humor out in the stories and everything. And because, she is so serious and so sincere, it really does actually help to have characters that are a lot more boisterous than her. It makes them both shine a lot more than if they were all very serious or if they were all very boisterous.
Yeah, and you have a really good odd couple in the short you have for the How to Catch a Unicorn anthology. And that's Effie and Elric.
Effie and Elric. For those of you who are FMA fans, I did not plan on the last name being the same thing as the Elric brothers, but I am okay with it because it is awesome. But no, I was just looking for a name for him, and that just happened.
Well, I like it because she's extremely naive, but she's also extremely principled, and he's a little more, well, can I stab the guy now?
Yeah. He's very direct, shall we say. He's like, potential of doing bad equals stabby. And she's like, no, we have to have proof, and we have to have this, and we have to have that. And he's like, well, you're just gullible, and she smacks him. Yeah. And because he's a unicorn, she can smack him and it's not really going to hurt him. Like, unicorns are like these giant horses. So, she smacks him and he's like, oh, you injured me. And she says, no, I didn't.
Yeah. she's on to his malarkey now.
Yeah, she's like, I didn't do anything to you. And it makes a fun back and forth between them. I liked how that showed up. At first I thought she was going to be a little bit too sweet, but then the first time that she kind of like snarked back at him, I was like, okay, she can hold her own. Because they're both teenagers. So he acts like he knows everything, but I'm pretty sure he goes back to his home herd and they're all like, oh, there's the young punk who thinks he can stab everything. Oh, there we go. Again, he came back.
Yep, who did you stab this week?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, he thinks he's all that, he knows everything, and then he goes, gets around adults and they're just like, oh, there's the punk who won't shut up all the time.
I want a story of him getting his horn stuck in stuff. Repeatedly.
Oh man, that would be very tempting.
And she's like greasing up the horn and like trying to, like, I told you couldn't stop.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun. I guess I'd have to find another anthology to stick that in, but that would be hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, so Odd Couples, very good for your stories. We hope you enjoyed this Booksplosion. And next week is Humor Take 2, where we tackle all those awesome questions we didn't get to in the last humor episode, including why and how to use humor in dark moments, when is humor too much, and different types of humorous characters. Plus, any other questions you got for us, we'll take those on too. So go ahead in wherever you're watching this or not watching this, listening to this, throw down a comment, your favorite humor books or things we should read or questions you have about writing humor, and we will tackle them again next week. Right, Heidi?
Oh, yes, we will, Janine.
Because we do
them like a unicorn with a stabby horn.
Yes, all the stabby horns. And for now, thank you so much for tuning into Indie Book Magic. Please give us some love on Facebook, on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and on our website. And this is Janeen Ippolito and
H.L. Burke.
Sign off.
Bye-bye.